Are you going to do an intro?
All right. We are there, guys. What's up, everybody? This is Donald with Black and Tan. And the good-looking guy at the bottom, my co-host, Dr. Paul Lavelli. The other good-looking guy on the screen is my friend, Jim Dechamp. What's up, Jim? So a lot of people are going to be interested. A lot of people, I always tell Jim Dechamp stories all the time because, I mean, in our field, you've done a lot, and I've been lucky enough to be around when you've accomplished some things. So telling the Jim Dechamp stories are something that
Can I ask the question?
Yeah, for sure.
Jim, how many bones have you broken?
I lost count a long time ago.
Did you?
Yep.
Is there a part of your body that hasn't been broken? Maybe that's an easier question.
I've been fairly lucky. I like wrists and hands and like ankles and stuff, but nothing. Besides my back, like I haven't broken any major things like hips or knees or femurs.
You did break your a vertebrae off your neck.
Did I?
Yeah, I was there for that one.
Oh.
That's when you, like you said, you've truly lost count when you're like, oh yeah, did I?
I broke my back. I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah. But I mean, that kind of goes with the territory on what you do. You know what I mean, and what you've done. Like, I mean, I don't know anyone that has done things to the level that you have and have come out unscathed. I don't think it happens. I mean, that's just. I mean, so
what's the sickest thing? What's the sickest thing, Donald, that you've seen him do, video or in live?
I saw him do the first ever in competition front flip on a bike, on a mountain bike. And no one else up until that point has ever done a front flip on a mountain bike. And Jim did it in Baltimore Bike Battle. Yeah, it was at that point, it was like, I don't even think I had even seen anyone do it on a BMX bike at that point.
When is this? How long ago is this?
I don't know. Probably like 2003, 4-ish, maybe.
Yeah.
Jim, this is not when everybody has their crash pads and nice ramps at their house. How do you do that the first time?
I actually had the advantage of having Travis Pastrana's training facility, so I did have access to a foam pit.
Okay.
It's one of those tricks. I've never seen anyone learn a front flip without a foam pit or water. Like, that's not a trick you go straight to the ramp.
No.
But yeah, that one meant a lot for me because like the year before that, the Red Bull Bike Battle the year before that was in Boston, and that's when I won Best Crash of the Year from Bicycle Magazine, trying that same trick. And then the competition again in my hometown, like right down the street in Baltimore, in front of all my friends and family. I was like, I didn't care about the rest of the freestyle course. I just want to land that one trick. I came there just to do that, prove that it could be done on a mountain bike.
We got my buddy from Costa Rica on right now. His name is Rafa. Rafa has a podcast. He shares he's co-host with Elvis and a couple of other guys. But Rafa also wanted to know. He was like, how many broken bones? Whoa. He was amazed at how many you had. But I honestly think that's, like I said, that's kind of par for course. I mean, I don't know if because I'm a fanboy, you're not only my friend, but I'm also a fan, right? So, yeah. But hey, Paul, you laugh. I'm a fan of yours also, right? But that's just the way it works, right? I look at people that achieve things, and I can tell you that when I see my friends achieve certain levels, I'm always like, I become a fan. You know what I mean? It could be almost anything. When I look at greatness and I see something that someone does really well, I'm like, damn, I want to follow it and see what's going on. But so as a fan of yours, I've seen and I've followed your career, and I've seen some pretty crazy stuff. So one of the scariest things, Paul, you asked me, one of the craziest things that I've seen, I wasn't there to witness it, but the scariest and the craziest thing I've seen was in Nitrous Circus, the movie. Jim and Tommy were gonna barrel roll a Mustang a car. So they were going to do a barrel roll. They set up a ramp. They built this car up and everything like that. And it didn't quite go as well as they planned. And the car actually landed on its roof. And the roll cage that they built for it collapsed. And yeah, so even watching it in the movie, knowing him, watching it in the movie, it was like, it's hard to watch because I know the guy that's in the car and I know what happened. So it was kind of hard to watch. But that was one of the broken bones that that probably from me scared me pretty bad. And then I was there one night when we were hanging out and Jim tripped on he like I said, he's one of the most coordinated people I know. He tripped coming down the steps and broke his that's when he hurt his neck really bad.
Oof.
And that was super scary. But
go back to the rolling the Mustang, barrel rolling a Mustang.
Yeah.
Wait, how Jim, I want to know, like, are you sober when you have the initial thought? But how does that come about? Like, we're going to barrel roll a Mustang.
Well, it all comes from somewhere. I saw it in an old James Bond movie, and it made it look easy. I'm like, oh, look, that's so cool. It's like they took a car and they barreled around back to the wheels, but you don't get the whole background. You get the whole stunt part of it, like all the stuff that went into it. We just kind of like built a ramp that was kind of like one side higher than the other. Like, that'll work. Cool, let's go. And some guy, I'm not even sure who made up the speed that we're supposed to go, but I went around that speed and it was a little too fast. And like, I remember going up the ramp. I remember feeling like it's this too slow. Even one of the edits, you can hear Travis yelling too slow. And I felt like it was going too slow and it was way too fast. So it was, I guess, because I'm not a professional car jumper that I didn't exactly get practice. I just kind of showed up and did it.
The crazy thing is you are a professional car jumper. You're the closest to a professional.
Doesn't mean you're good at it.
No, that's true. That's true.
I don't think those guys stay around very long if they're not good at it, right?
Yeah, no doubt. But so the car landed on its roof and it collapsed. It pancaked.
Yeah, I'm pretty tall, so I don't pancake very good inside of an already low roof car. But like, yeah, last second I turned my head away from the roll cage and it dented. I had a full blown race car helmet on and it dented the helmet. I woke up 3 days later in a hospital. I was like, I remember going up the ramp. I remember seeing the ground coming and kind of ducking away. Next thing I know, I woke up in the hospital. My parents are there, and I'm like, huh. And I look down, I'm wearing another back brace shell. It's all covered in stickers. And I'm like, huh, I guess I've been here for a while. Someone sticker tagged me already, and I recognize what this is. Broken back. It's my second time I've been in one of these. So the first thing I did is start wheeling my toes. I'm like, oh, my toes move good, oh, good. I'm not paralyzed. And then, yeah, good.
So second time breaking backs, and I want to get out of the scary negative stuff as soon as possible, because like I said, I kind of as a friend I kind of I'm reliving it, and it wasn't a good thing at all. It was truly scary when you know one of your friends is like really hurting, whether you expect it because of what they do or not is still kind of like, damn.
Yeah, it was a poorly planned rolling the dice just because you're in shooting movies and stuff. You get this anxiety. You're like, oh, I gotta do this, and you stop thinking about the consequences. You just want to get the shot, make the most epic thing you possibly can, and you put your safety behind you because you just get so excited about getting the great glory shot.
Right.
Is the shot the adrenaline, or is the actual going through the stunt itself, or is it both? Maybe.
I don't know. It's a lot. Like you show up on a movie set. There's cameras. There's helicopters. There's food. Like there's so much going on. You're just like, and this is all for me. I better do my job. I'm here to do my job. And then you kind of just go through. You check all the things you possibly can. You're like, hey, go this fast, aim at this ramp, hit this speed. Cool. Let's do it.
And I want to make sure everybody knows the connection here. we are a bicycle podcast, obviously, and Jim is known as Mountain Bike Jim. Like, he first and foremost was this badass local mountain biker who was in my opinion was probably the no, not my opinion. I'm sure it's the opinion of a lot of other people as well. He was the best mountain biker in our area by far. One of the best mountain bikers in the world when it comes to doing, what he did, like riding street and things like that.
Oh, thank you.
So, that's the connection with Black and Tan. He is a cyclist. This is a cycling podcast. So I don't want, when you hear us talking about Mustangs rolling over and things like that, he's a cyclist first.
John, you want to talk about how I know you?
Yeah. Why don't you tell him?
Yeah. The longest memory I can remember is when you had Fleet Street bicycles, this bike shop down in Baltimore. We'd be out street riding, we'd swing in there, look around, talk to you, hang out. And then one of the most memorable points is you came up with a contest where we go and shoot footage. And we bring back our footage that day, and we go to a bar, and we put it on the big screen, put on a TV in there, and we vote on who has the best footage for the day. There's all kinds of craziness going. Like, people all over Baltimore they probably shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, I got in trouble by Baltimore City. Baltimore City called me, or a representative of Baltimore City called me and told me that that won't happen again. So that was called the Cloak and Dagger contest that I put on. So what it was is me and Patrick Stewart, my manager at the time, we came up with this idea. Pat was just brilliant when it comes to like marketing and doing things. So we came up with this idea to have a contest where we would divide everybody into groups, and one person in the group would have a camera, and the other guys in the groups, while he was filming them, they would come up with different criteria. Like, we'd have the longest manual, the biggest jump, the biggest gap, things like that. And it was all in the streets of Baltimore. It was any kind of bike. So it was mountain bikes, it was BMX bikes, all kinds of different stuff. So we thought this contest was going to be pretty small, and maybe 10, 15 people would enter it. And we got this local bar to host us afterwards to put it up on a television, and we go through and we'd vote on who had the best tricks. So that morning when I woke up to a lot of noise in the alley, because I had my apartment was the third floor of my bike shop on Fleet Street. I woke up to a lot of noise in the alley, and the alley was filled with people.
Mm-hmm.
It was people from Florida. It was everywhere. And I was amazed. So it was probably, I'd say, in the total people participating was probably like 50 or 60. And they went all around Baltimore doing big tricks and kind of doing what BMXers and mountain bikers do when they ride street.
Run them off.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. But Jim was one of the contestants in that contest. And ever since then, I guess that's where we were kind of really hooked up. And
what was his trick?
Started.
What was his trick?
Well, yeah, one thing that he did, Jim, was it? Did you line up the table and go to jump through it, and your front wheel plowed through into the table? Was that?
Yeah, there's like two guardrails on like upper level. Like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. There's two guardrails, and I used a door because we found random things around to make a ramp out of. I'm like, gonna jump from here over to here, but then when I hit the ramp door, my wheels went through the door, and I flew over the guardrails and ate shit.
Yeah, but still one of the craziest things I've ever seen. I mean, but they were. He also. Did you jump down Federal Hill?
Oh, maybe, yeah. Did some stuff.
Yeah. So he set a ramp up on top of Federal Hill and went super fast and hit it and literally jumped down Federal Hill like a ski jump. And he was just flying through the air. I mean, it looked like he probably jumped 150 feet because as he was coming down, the ground was going with him. And it looked just like someone that was doing a ski jump. And he was just gliding and landed that out. That was pretty sick. But I mean, you're talking, like I said, we're talking stunts that are probably not big right now, but back then were like unthought of. Like these were huge things that people were doing.
Well, if you want to get more into the bicycles part of this, at this point, there's cross-country mountain bikes, and there were what kind of mountain bikes were there? There's cross-country, really.
Cross country, they were down. No, they were kind of down. They were downhills, but I mean, there was only like maybe 3 different styles of bikes, like you said. Right?
There weren't
like maybe
bikes. What we use is cross-country frames. We use small cross-country frames, put short stems on, drop the seat post all down, threw some chain guides on it, and some wide wheels, some wide rims, and that was our freestyle bike or slalom bike.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, but you competed also, didn't you? Didn't you compete in dual slalom?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jim is the kind of guy that would be in the middle of a dual slalom race and just pull a backflip. Right. Like like I remember watching, I wasn't with you guys, but I remember watching you guys went up to one year. You guys went up to Whistler Crankworks at Whistler. And you were running the downhill course, and Travis and those guys are on the downhill course, and they just decide, oh, we're just going to backflip the jumps as we go down. Like things that I can't even, I don't even understand how, first of all, how you gear up in your head to say, all right, I'm going to backflip this jump as we're going down or downhill race course. But that's the kind of stuff that, Jim would do.
Jim, will you do that on a first run, or you guys timed it out and paced each other, or you just had a good feeling?
Most of the time, someone just finds a good jump and like, think we can flip it, or think we do this on it, and we always want to be the first. Like when we do the dual slalom races, I always want to be the first person to jump all the big jumps there.
I think that's where it gets interesting, because being the first to do, or the person to do whatever the biggest, is a big part of your life, Jim. World records. I've been talking about the world records for a while. Can you explain to the guys the day you guys just decided to break as many world records as you possibly can?
Okay, we had the guy from the Guinness Book of Record on set. We had a big stunt set up. We're filming Nitrous Circus, first of all, so we had this big crew there, and the stunt was taking a while to set up. And I talked to the guy from the Guinness Book of Records. I'm like, "Is there a record for this? Is there a record for this? Is there a record for this?" Because I saw Rob Dyrdek on his show. He set a bunch of skateboard records, like all these like kick flips. How you can do this in 1 minute? I'm like, I wonder if I can do that with mountain bikes. So I just asked him, is there a record for this? Is there a record for this? Is there a record for this? And I just went and did a bunch of them and set a bunch of records, and then some were good, some were pretty easy, and then other ones were really silly, like the most one-handed claps in a minute. Yeah, I have the world record for that.
Now, here's a fun fact.
If that wasn't fun enough.
No, here's a fun fact. Amber, my wife, can also do a one-handed clap, and she's pretty fast. I don't think she can quite come close to the intensity that it takes to do the world record, but yeah, that's.
I just want to know, Jim, you could do that before you broke your hand, or you took a break to make your hand do that?
That came from when I was in middle school. It was like people had their parents come in and talk about their jobs, and his dad was talking about it, and he said it's like the sound of one hand clapping. I was like, and then he just shut up. My teacher started laughing at him. I spontaneously he said, "What's the sound of one hand clapping?" I'm like that.
And you figured it out.
We're going to have everybody in the audience trying to do that right now.
The tricky part is making a face while doing it.
So Amber's on here. She's actually just said that she could probably beat your record, or probably, I don't know.
I don't know.
We'll see about that. Maybe on the next show, we're gonna have her attempt the world record.
All right, well, we'll one hand clap off.
And clap off. So now we know about the cars. We know about that. What would you call the line of work that you do, and that you guys have done? Would you call yourself stuntman?
Yeah, I think that's a fair. Like, I was originally a professional mountain bike racer, and then because I was a guy in mountain biking that was also riding street, I was one of like me, Aaron Chase, Kyle Ebbett, Lars, all the guys from like Dunhampton. These guys were all like kind of this freestyle thing, like doing street ride on mountain bike. I'm like, I do that too. Like, I ride around downtown Annapolis, around Baltimore on my mountain bike, and do street. Because also had a BMX bike, and I'd kind of mix it too. I go dirt jumping, and mountain biking was still kind of new to the whole like doing BMX things on mountain bikes. So I guess I got a little off track, but then I started becoming a racer, then freestyle rider, then because I was friends with Travis Pastrana, I would kind of ride motorcycles from time to time, and I'd tell him, on motorcycles sometimes.
You start doing the stunts on motorcycles. So, what I said earlier was, so he was not only the first guy to do a front flip in a contest on a mountain bike, but he was also the first guy to ever successfully land a front flip on a dirt bike. Now, when you landed that front flip on a dirt bike, did you use that special ramp, or did you use a standard ramp?
That was a regular old ramp.
That's what I thought. Now that's what makes it even more spectacular, because if I'm not right, you did it the same way that you would do it on your mountain bike initially, where
Yes.
you would go at it top speed, and right as you get to the lip of the ramp, you would grab a handful of front brake. Am I right?
Yes.
Which is it's just like, to me, it's like that's the hardest way you could do it. And if anybody would say, I would say, no, it's not possible to do it that way. But Jim, like, he does the impossible, right? Like, he literally landed a front flip going on a dirt bike, grabbing a hand just as his front wheel was about to come off the ramp. He grabbed the front brake as hard as he can, tucks, and flips what, 150, 200-pound dirt bike.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they're pretty heavy.
Heavy enough, right?
Yep.
So I'm like, man, so that's another one of the things that I said, that in order to do that, we were joking off camera about your coordination. And I was saying that I think that you're one of the most coordinated people I know. And you were laughing because you're like, well, have you ever seen me dance? And I'm like, all right, fine. I get it. The dancing side of things, I get it. You may not be able to dance, but to be able to put your wheel at a certain on a certain place, whether it be a landing or a jump, and time it just right in order to do certain things, you gotta agree with me. I mean, that just takes a different level of hand-eye coordination. Am I right?
Yeah, it does. I'm not sure it comes from lots and lots of practice, or just you just got to pure determination and luck. I don't know.
I mean, I've been riding mountain bikes for forever, right? I was racing BMX bikes, riding mountain bikes, doing all the stuff. And I've done a lot. I've never been able to get that type of timing. And I feel like I'm still above the average when it comes to timing and placing my tires in certain spots, from repetition, like you said, just from riding enough. I feel like I'm above the average, but then there's levels to everything. And in order to get to that level, you have to have, like, first of all, you have to have nerves of steel, because you can't panic in certain instance. Like, where
Or lack
maybe
of
if I were,
motivation.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you guys just aren't scared. I think, is that what it is?
Well,
I mean,
okay.
do you get scared anymore?
I don't know. I think you get so concentrated, so focused. You get hyper focused on what you got to get done. It's like skydiving or any of those things. When you jump out of the airplane, you're not scared. You're just thinking about all the things you got to do to save your life.
Which is
Can we walk it back just like Jim? How do you get started in all this? Like, walk us back. Is that like we're talking about a lot of stuff that people have seen, obviously, but Like what's the progression of not being scared to being that focused? Where do you get started? You're 5, you're riding a bike, you put a ramp up. Tell me about that. Like,
Okay, yeah, it all started when I was in the neighborhood. I was hanging out with the older kids. They all had BMX bikes. I had a piece of junk Huffy mountain bike, and I was wanting like a GT or a Mongoose or one of the cool bikes I was wanted. And I was like, all right, well, I was riding my piece of junk Huffy mountain bike till one day when we moved to Eastport in Annapolis. I was riding on a sidewalk and I see this backyard with all these dirt jumps. I'm like, oh, what's this? So I hop over the bush and I start riding around. And little Travis comes out on his little BMX bike and he's like, "There's my dirt bike track." I'm like, "Oh, what? Oh, cool." So we started riding BMX bikes together. Eventually, I destroyed my Huffy, and my dad noticed that I needed a proper BMX bike, so he got me a GT for Christmas. That was the coolest morning ever. I remember that, like walking out and seeing that. It was a huge GT, whatever. It was the coolest gift I've ever got in my entire life. And I was like addicted to BMX at that point. And then he told me the kid that used to own it, he raced. I'm like, I want to race. So I started racing and won my first couple of races and was addicted to bicycles.
Yeah, not a bad addiction. I think we all share a similar addiction.
Yeah.
For sure.
How old were you when you started racing?
I was 10.
Yeah. And that was BMX? That's what you were racing?
Yep. I raced BMX for about 15. And then the local BMX track in Columbia, Maryland closed. And I was like, what do we do now? And I was talking to some of my guys some of my friends around the neighborhood that rode mountain bikes. And they're like, you should come race downhill. I'm like, what's that? Sounds cool. So, like, I don't know if you guys know Evan Phillips or Peter Pell or Andy Jack, but they're older and they're already racing a little bit. They're like in their mid-20s. I was like 15. And I was like, I'll go. And they thought they were going to bring little Jim along and like kick my butt. And that first race, I started beating them and like, oh, why are we bringing this kid?
Right.
So I started taking their money.
Well, that's kind of the way. I mean, I like I said, people talk and bring up like the legends of this and the legends of that. You know, like I bring up Ron Bain, who is a local legend, and how he got started. We talk about how Jeremiah Bishop got started, and it's a similar path. Like they start off as these young kids who kind of the older guys kind of introduce them to the sport, and before they know it, they're kicking the older guys. They're kicking the ass of the older guy, and it's like, man, you could tell that. What you could tell when people have talents for things, and you know, early on they called Jeremiah young lungs, and you know, Jim being introduced by the older guys. Ron, I don't know. Ron just appeared. He was a magical, mythical person who just appeared out of everywhere. What's that?
He's a muscle unicorn.
Yeah. I don't know where Ron came from, but Ron was just all of a sudden he appeared and he was doing crazy things on a bike. But you know, I think it starts from a young age and having someone above you kind of guiding you in. Yeah. So
Jim Travis was there. Was there somebody mentoring Travis at the time that you got to know, or it was just you guys pushing each other?
Well, back then Travis was like 7 years old. I was 9 years old when we first met, and he was already a really good motocross racer. He was already on 80s, and he was sponsored by Suzuki. He was the youngest person ever factory sponsored. But I saw the way his family like ran his entire program of training and mixing working out and like his work ethic when it comes to two-wheel sport. I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. I want to start simulating a little of that into my riding. So we started building jumps bigger, and Travis was also, can you imagine a 7 and 9 year old having access to a Bobcat where we build? So we're building bigger and bigger jumps, and like I had Fuzzy Hall come my house. My dad, because I started racing BMX, my dad ended up in the bicycle industry working for Hyper Bicycles and traveling around going to a lot of the races. And one day, I was still like 12 years old. I was still young, and my dad went to the Worlds, and he brought back Fuzzy Hall with him. I'm like, that's one of my heroes. That's so cool. And Fuzzy's like, oh, let's go right. I heard you have some jumps on the street. We bring him over to Travis's house, and he's like, you guys are 12 years old. What are you doing with these big head jumps?
So So to people that don't know, Fuzzy Hall is also one of my like BMX heroes, right? Legend in the sport. Dirt jumping Hall of Famer. Like he's a badass. TJ Lavin, Fuzzy Hall, that whole crew, they all kind of grew up in the same era, dirt jumping. So Fuzzy Hall was one of the best dirt jumpers of his time for sure.
And he's the one of the first racer jumper guys. He was like the first guy I saw was a proper AA pro racer and a top level dirt jumper. So that's kind of cool. Right. You don't have to just be a racer, or just be a jumper. You can do both.
Yeah, who's the Falcon?
Brian Foster.
Brian Foster, that's right. Also from Columbia, or spent some time in Columbia. Was also a racer jumper who was again just incredible for his time. But man, so you had Fuzzy Hall at your dirt jumps when you were 12 years old.
I was like, crazy. That's so cool. Like I wake up in the morning, I walk to my house, like Fuzzy Hall's on my couch, and his cool ass top level pro BMX is in my side room. Like, oh cool, I'm sitting on his bike and stuff. Like, oh, his bike's so cool.
So you've been intertwined. Your family is now intertwined in cycling. So your dad I used to see him always at the trade shows, and he was with Hyper. How was that growing up? Was that like pretty cool having your dad in the industry? Were you able to get any cool bikes or anything like that out of the deal?
100%. I was never a top BMX racer. Like I was expert, but I was lucky to make the main at nationals. I was good, but not by any means going anywhere factory or getting big spots or anything like that.
That's still good.
But
that's really good still.
It was cool that I got to like hang out in the Hyper tent at races and get one of the newest BMX bikes they had. I was like, oh cool, I got a brand new Hyper bike all the time, and hang out in the tent with Eric Carter and Daniel Sprague. Saw the cool pro riders and everything. That was a good benefit.
Yeah, for sure. So what's up, Paul? What are you thinking? I see you're coming up with something.
No, you guys like jump around. So we're 12 years old.
It's just that he does so. I'm sorry.
We're 12 years old. We're 12 years old. We're on a dirt jump in Annapolis, and then later on we're making movies. So there's a little gap there. Like so.
There's so much, man.
I want Jim to bring me there. Bring me there. Fuzzy's there. Show him your dirt jump. He's like, wow, you guys are cool. What's the next step? How's that move?
So I'm telling you, like, just his life is just so crazy, though. Let's just talk about base jumping for a second. You know what I mean? Well, I mean, like, what do you want? There's so much to talk about, right? Like I said, Paul, earlier, I don't know if I said this on camera or not, but there's things. He's kind of like you in a lot of ways, Paul, because he's a man of a lot of different talents, right? Like every single time we talk about something, it's like, oh yeah, tennis. Yeah, I play tennis. Oh yeah, I like to fish. Oh, well, I was a guide. Oh yeah, I like, there's like levels to what you do. And with Jim, there's so many different like aspects to what he did and how deep it goes. Like, let's just talk about base jumping for a second.
Okay.
What got you into base jumping?
Once again, most of my background, most of my stuff a lot of these stories come from just knowing Travis Pastrana and getting to hang out, run on his coattails. Like, he comes with ideas and he's like, hey, Jim, what are you doing? Okay, that's what we're going to do next. Awesome. Like, this particular time, he called Jolene and myself, and he's like, hey, go to skydiving school down in Arizona and get your skydive license. We're like, for what? He's like, you're going to jump motorcycles in the Grand Canyon. We're like, we're going to do what? Just go get your skydive license. Cool. So we went and did our basic jump school, which is like 20 or 30 jumps or something like that, and you get your license to jump out of an airplane by yourself. And the next thing you know, a week later, we're jumping motorcycles into the Grand Canyon with base jump rigs. So we got the accelerated learning program.
Accelerated learning program to something that's So like I said, you can't, normal people, it doesn't calculate to like someone like me, and I've been around it and it still doesn't calculate, right? Like there's been times where I've been hanging out with the guys. I've been over at Travis's house and I've watched people like try to gear up to do what they do. And I'm like, or I'd bring someone with me. I brought a friend with me over to Travis's once, and I had to give him a speech before we got there because this guy kind of he'll try it. I try to explain them. I was like, dude, I know you think that they're crazy, but they're not crazy. Everything that they do is calculated. They do that for a living. If you think that you're going to go to his house and do what they do, they're going to give you as much rope as you need to hang yourself. Like they're going to let you do it, and you'll sign a waiver, and you will hurt yourself. So it's crazy to think that these guys it's an accelerated learning thing, like he said, but it's the consequences are so far out of like normalcy that most people would never even think about it.
But that's the question I have. So you're a long way from dirt jumping in Annapolis to taking your motorcycle into the Grand Canyon with maybe a parachute that will open if it doesn't.
I'm gonna try to. I'm gonna try to link it all together.
Yeah. Okay.
When I was mountain bike racing, I was a professional mountain bike racer at this point. I was sponsored by, at that point, I was like sponsored by, who am I talking about? Oh, the GT. I was sponsored by GT at that time. So I went from having this Christmas bike, this GT bike that was the coolest bike in the world, to now I'm riding the factory rig. I'm riding, like, going to races. I have a tractor trailer that has my mechanic and my bicycle in it and all this cool stuff. And that's pretty cool. And then one winter, Travis is like, what are you doing there this winter? I'm like, nothing. He's like, you just need to train, right? I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, come be my training partner. We're going to live at Kevin Wyndham's house and ride and train every day. You're my training partner. So basically from, I think it was probably November to the whole entire Supercross season, I was his training partner. And Travis ended up winning the national championship for 125 Supercross, and I was his training partner. So that was pretty cool. And meanwhile, what's going on? Greg Godfrey's coming to Kevin Wyndham's house, and we're shooting Nitro Circus stuff. Like pond skiing motorcycles across the pond, and they're doing big jumps, and we're filming Nitro Circus. And I'm like, this is kind of cool. I want to do this too. So we started, the first Nitro Circus came out, this DVD selling at motocross shops, and it sold like crazy. And they're like, let's make another one of these. So I got kind of included in that group of making DVDs. Meanwhile, I'm trying to maintain my mountain bike career, and I was working at a bicycle shop, kind of barely scraping by stuff. So I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do with my life, but I was young enough and didn't have too much to tie me down, so I was doing a little everything.
That's very cool. So it seems like, do you have an agent? Like you're just like a kid saying, okay, I'll just do it. And
yeah, well, in the early years, we're just making DVDs. And then one time we're in Oklahoma at this Evel Knievel tribute thing. And a bunch of riders, we set to jump through flips and stuff. And then Johnny Knoxville and Jeff Tremaine show up. And we're like, oh my God, Johnny Knoxville's here. And that's when we try to teach Johnny Knoxville how to backflip a dirt bike. Well, he threw the motorcycle straight in the air, and the handlebar landed right in his junk and broke his urethra. So we met Johnny Knoxville, broke his dick. Meanwhile, they're like him and Jeff Tremaine were like, you guys need your own MTV show. We're like, yeah, right, whatever. Cool. And then I'm already kind of fading away from doing all the fun stuff. I was getting a job as a plants repair person, so I had a real job now. And I get a phone. I have a good paying job. I'm like, cool, I like this. I'm settling down. I'm going to do this. And then I get a call from MTV. We're like, oh, you have a TV show on MTV. Here's your pay. You want to come do this? We're like, yeah. I quit my job. I walked in. I was like, I got offered a job I can't refuse. I'm sorry, but I'm done repairing appliances. And then we started doing MTV, and that's when we got agents. That's when it got real.
Yeah.
How old are you at this point?
It's probably like 27, 26, 27.
Wow.
And,
Wow.
and that
Yeah.
was something I was like, I didn't believe it until the first day we were actually with cameras. I was like, this ain't gonna happen. They're gonna give us an MTV show. But
Yeah,
it happened.
how long did that MTV show run? How many seasons?
We made 2 seasons, and then I'm not exactly sure, but I'm pretty sure we're off for the 3rd season. But Travis and I think we all kind of agreed that if we were 3rd season, we're all going to die because we kept stepping up, stepping up. And I don't think it was hectic. It was a lot of work. And Travis still wanted to race his rally cars and want to do his other things. So I think it ran its course. We're all happy with it, and then we kind of cut that off. And then Nitro Circus went from a TV show to a live tour, and that's when we started doing like live shows in stadiums. Next thing I know, I'm in Australia in rugby stadiums. They're getting sold out, and we're riding this big ramp, this big mega ramp thing, doing tricks. So yeah, toured the world for a little while, doing Nitro Circus live stadium tours. Like we do one of the last ones I did was at MGM Grand in Vegas, and we sold out the MGM Grand.
Wow.
That was pretty surreal.
Yeah.
Are you still riding your bike at this point, or are you
Yeah,
just
right now today.
today? Back then, like, have you ever gotten off the bike for a while, or you just like it's always been a part of you?
I slowed down for I don't know, for a while after I broke my back the 2nd time, and then, but recently I kind of started my life over again, and last couple of years I've been riding more than I ever have.
Patapsco, where are you riding?
Mostly Waterworks and Bacon Ridge. Those are my close to home ones.
We gotta get you up and do a Patapsco ride. I think you would it'd be interesting to watch, Paul. I think you would you'd enjoy it.
What? Well, you would say we should go see him, except we never actually make it out of that place where we think we're going to make it out. We're always lost for like an hour.
Yeah, we go down into Bacon Ridge and literally end up having to take the closest road out because we can't find our way back. So we end up it ends up being a road ride of some sort.
I've been lost at Waterworks and Bacon Ridge, and both times I've been there multiple times. But in my mind, the loops kind of get into similar.
They all look the same.
You get confused. You're like, am I at Waterworks or where am I? Damn it!
They all look the same. I remember at one point you had an apartment that literally was right outside Waterworks. Like,
yeah,
it was right across the street from it. I think I hope you either move in or move out of that place at one point.
Yeah, no, that was amazing. I was like, I get off work. Worst case, I go do like 20-minute ride real quick, just knock out no matter what. I get a little ride in.
What are you riding now, Jim? What are you riding?
What type of bike?
Yeah.
It's a road fabrication. My friend Pete Appel, he built the entire frame and all the linkages himself out of his own garage. He has a CNC machine. He's built quite a few bikes now, and he built one for one of my buddies. When I saw it, I was like, "Okay, Pete, I'm ready for one of your bikes." And it's essentially a enduro bike. Yeah, but he built my friend Vinny's bike, and that's the one I saw. And I was like, "Okay, after he built Vinny's, I want one of those." And I went ahead and pulled all the strings I could, getting all the parts for it. I called Envy, I called Fox, and got all the top line parts I could for it. Because I'm like, this could possibly be my last bike I'm ever gonna have, so I'm gonna make it as good as I can. But at this point, I've already put thousands of miles on that thing.
That's sick.
I love it.
Yeah, I think with the magic of editing, I think I've been letting a lot of these podcasts just flow through and not editing things in, but I'm definitely going to edit some of the things that you've done into this one, as well as that bike, because I think people need to see it. It's an interesting build. It's a really nice bike, and you can tell it's fabbed really well.
I've ridden everything cross country to taking a downhill ride, and downhill, like, it performs so good. It's like the faster I go, the harder I go on it, the smoother it gets.
Wow.
What type of what's the travel on it?
Suspension.
What's the travel on your suspension?
I think I'm roughly 170.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But it climbs like a cross country bike, and it's got a Fox 36 on the front, or 30.
Yeah,
I think. And then I got the rear shock and everything. Everything was tuned for that linkage measurement and everything. Pete did all the CAD design on it and got everything perfect for me.
That's pretty sick. Yeah, definitely have to put some pictures of it up online so people can see it, because now I think they're going to be interesting.
Yeah, like if someone needs a really nice custom bike and they have some idea of something they want to do with their bike, yeah, Road Fabrication, Pete Appel, he'll work with you and get you exactly what you want.
Right. It's if you go to Jim's Instagram page, you can actually see that bike on his Instagram page.
Which stunt gave you the greatest pucker factor? Let me reframe it. Which one would you not do, minus the car? Maybe you would do it again. I don't know. What would you not do again if you?
Okay, I have a good little story for you. Yeah. It's motorcycle front flip. That's how it came about. I was doing my mountain bike front flips. I was like, I kind of thought about how to do it on a dirt bike. I told Travis, like, Travis, do this, this, and this. I bet you can front flip a dirt bike. So Travis bought a 125 two-stroke, and he's like, cool, I got the bike. Now show me. I'm like, no, Travis, I'm telling you how to do it so you can do it. He's like, no, you talked about it. You got to do it. So I get in the foam pit. I barely make it in the foam pit, but I get the bike to front flip at probably like 4 foot. I did a little tiny front flip in a dirt bike. He's on his phone to X Games going, my friend can front flip a dirt bike. X Games is in 1 month, and I got to learn how to jump front flip at 40 foot. I just did one at like 5 foot. I meant for him to learn how to do it. Next thing I know, I'm the one doing it. And then a month later, I'm on the roll-in at X Games in the Staples Center. And right before I went up there, I used the clutch from a KTM for my front brake because I had a mountain bike set up. So motocross and they're opposite. So whatever. My front brake did not work. Travis squeezed my front brake. I was like, Travis, my front brake has an air bubble in or something. Do we have any brake fluid? And we're like, no, it's in there. I said, Jim Dechamp, come up to the top. It's your turn. I'm like, well, I'm going to try it anyway. So I went up there, no front brake, and tried it, and crashed and broke my back for the first time at the Staples Center.
I watched that live. It was one of those things where it's like, God damn, man. Like,
the bike made it. The bike rolled away.
The bike did. the bike did make it. So after that, like, speaking of the X Games, so after I closed down my shops in around here, I decided to get out of the cycling industry for a while, and I ended up living in San Diego, or just outside of San Diego. And Jim calls me. He's like, "Hey, Donald, X Games are happening. Why don't you meet me up here? I'll we'll hang out." I'm like, all right, I don't know what that means, but okay, whatever. So I look around my office, and there's a bunch of young guys that are really into this, right? So I'm like, hey, does anybody want to go with me to the X Games? And they're like, nah. I was like, one of my friends is up there. He said he can hook me up and get me in. And they were like, nah, we're good. So I go up to the X Games, and this is like when Travis and those guys were like rock stars, right? Like legit, like rock stars. I remember meeting Jim outside. We got into an elevator. Just as the elevator doors are about to close, there's this young boy who recognizes Jim. And he's almost breaking down in tears, and he's holding his hand up and he's yelling, Jim. And I'm like, who am I with right now? The doors close. We go up into this room. It's a private suite. We're overlooking the X Games, and every person that's like every kind of extreme athlete or super cool person was in that room with us. Like, it was the craziest thing. I'm like, holy shit, this is how these guys live right now. Like, they're really like rock stars. We went to an after party, and I mean, it was literally like I would see on television how these rock stars were living. This is how Jim and that whole crew kind of moved around town. And it was just the craziest thing to watch, like how people react to him. So it wasn't just a local thing, but it's that he's bigger than I think he wants to admit or whatever, but it was crazy to watch.
Yeah, I still don't like. I still feel like I'm Travis's friend. I'm kind of like I don't feel like it's me. I just lucky. I'm just lucky to get to do what I got to do.
So
It's
I'm glad you said that, because I met you as Jim the mountain biker before I knew the connection between you and Travis, right? So I was already idolizing and looking up to you as a rider before I mean, I knew you knew Travis, but I didn't know that you and Travis were like that. You know what I mean? So I've always looked at you as Jim the badass cyclist, not Jim Travis's best friend. I get that they go hand in hand, and some of the stories that we're talking about wouldn't have happened if you weren't Travis's friend. But I think that you have a legacy of your own that doesn't necessarily have to shadow Travis or anything like that.
Mhm.
I think, like I said, you were great, and you would have been great without Travis. And it's not taking anything away from Travis. I just want to make sure that your light is shining.
Yeah, I got you.
Right.
Sorry, I do that to myself sometimes. I'm like, oh, I did it, but yeah, no, it was very cool, and I did put a lot of work. Obviously, I rode a lot, and I like there's times when I fell down, crashed, and look around. I'm like, I'll be by myself in the woods and crash, and be like, why am I doing this? I just want to quit. I get on my bike, start pedaling somewhere. I'm like, oh, I'm feeling all right now. It's fun again.
Yeah.
But it's yeah, it's gotta get over all the injury. Like I don't know. I never had to like force myself to ride. It was what I just loved to do. So it felt easy.
I get it. I think most of the people on here get it.
Who taught you to ride a bike, Jim?
What do you mean? I think my dad pushed me down a hill on a bicycle and said, "There, you balanced. Good job." No, I give my dad a lot. I can give my dad a lot of credit because my genes, like he rode bicycles, he rode dirt bikes growing up, so I think some of that is in my genes.
Yeah.
Did you guys ride together a lot? Did you ever ride?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Probably around until I started getting faster than him.
Yeah.
How do you feel about e-bikes right now, Jim?
I love my e-bike. I go back and forth. Like if I get off work and it's late and I just want to get a fun ride in, just clear my head, e-bike. And like if I want to like hit some jumps and throw it around a little, have a little more fun on it, I ride my regular bike. Like right e-bike just means to me, you get the hills fast. You're still working just as hard. I don't work less hard. I just get the hills quicker now.
Yeah.
You never hit that. You never hit that point where you just want to quit, get off and push. You're just like, I can make it to the top of this thing. I can make it. It's a little more fun. Yeah. You have to practice you're going faster, so you got to learn a little different skills for cornering and all of a sudden uphill side jumps. Sorry.
I agree. That's what I tell people all the time. I'm like, e-bike doesn't necessarily mean that you get lazy and you don't get a workout. If you have 200 watts to give, you're going to give 200 watts. It is what it is. I think e-bikes are incredible. I'm definitely pro e-bike, especially when I get to ride with Paul or someone like that. I've gone out on an e-bike while he was on his regular bike several times just to keep up. Cool. So, Paul, you want to hit him off? So you hit him off with the one rapid question. What about the other ones?
You know what? It strikes me like, what does a ride look like with you now, Jimmy? Like, I go out for 20 minutes and I hit a couple of jumps. Like, what are you doing? That's probably means something different from the average rider than you. I'm just saying.
Most time I go out for an hour. Like that's my pretty standard issue cross country ride. I'll go out for an hour. Like last week we had these whoop straps and we have a whole team. Like we have a bunch of guys who all compete and it gets pretty serious sometimes. We're trying to get a score number. And one day I'm like, I'm going to just go ahead and max this thing out today and get the highest score you can. So I went and did a 55-mile ride. I just left my house and went Forrest Gump. One day I just started riding and just kept on going until I couldn't ride anymore. So I started Waterworks, went all through Waterworks, did all the trails there, and went to Bacon Ridge, did all the trails there, and went back through. I had friends joining me mid-ride, fresh guys, and started pushing me harder. I'm like, okay, let's go. And I'd ride through them, get rid of them, start a new one.
That's
All
that's kind of that's kind of how their group is though, Paul. Like they'll like all be sitting around and they're like, all right, well, let's challenge ourselves to do this. But it won't be like your ordinary challenge, right? It'll be like Travis used to have these races at his house where it was a team bike race, but they would go for 24 hours, and in the middle of it, they would have to, as you do a lap, you come back and you hand off the baton, but the guy would have to take maybe a shot, and if he doesn't want to take a shot, then he has to do like 50 push-ups. If he doesn't want to do 50 push-ups, he has to do this or that. And they're, like I said, when they challenge themselves to do certain things, it's not like the normal person. I mean, Elvis is kind of like that too. Elvis is one of the guys that helps us with the podcast. Elvis is sort of like that also. Elvis will say, all right, well, I'm going to get up and tomorrow I'm going to ride my bike from sun up to sundown. That's not normal, guys. That's
Jim, where's the coolest place you've ever mountain biked?
Ooh. I don't know. I've been to a lot of places.
Whistler, obviously, that's
Whistler's the easy one. That's fun all day. Even like Mountain Creek now is pretty good. Like they got, if you want to go local, you go to local good mountains. They're really fun.
Mountain Creek, man. But you've ridden in Hawaii, you've ridden in Australia, and you're going to say Mountain Creek? Come on, man. There's got to be some place better than Mountain Creek. I'll even accept Whistler, but you can't compare Whistler to Mountain Creek.
Yeah, I can't. But Whistler's too easy. Everyone knows.
No, I got you.
And Mountain Creek was one of the first mountains around here that did downhill that started letting people build jumps and like doing prepped. It was one of the first places on the East Coast that did prepped downhill trails, which I gotta give them respect for that.
So you see things like the Red Bull Rampage right now that goes on. I know you've never competed in a Red Bull Rampage, but is that something that you think if it would have come out earlier, something that you would have probably wanted to do?
No, I was invited to it one year. It was back in the day when it was still just kind of a cliff hucking contest.
Right.
Doing tricks is just who could jump off the biggest cliff and survive.
Right.
No. I can do step ups and straight jumps. I don't go off cliffs.
No, I get it. I mean, Josh Bender was a famous guy who used to basically custom build mountain bikes out of dirt bike parts and jump off the biggest cliff he could jump off of just to see if he would make it. And a lot of times he didn't quite make it and ended up in the hospital a lot. But no, I get that. Now that it's progressed and it's more of a sport, like where people are doing big tricks over big jumps and things like that. Again, if we could time travel and bring today's Red Bull Rampage back to when you were competitive,
I don't know because I didn't ride that terrain.
Okay.
We don't have big mountains around here. I was riding street. I was riding dirt jumps.
Gotcha.
When I look at a big giant step down, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know how to judge it. I'm like, throw a little rock off the edge and go, that looks about right. Like it's
right.
It's kind of it's that realm. That style of riding never was in front of me. I'm sure if I lived out there where that type of riding is around those guys, I'm sure I'd be kind of evolved into it, but I can't say I would because I've never done it.
Right. Got you. Well, it's almost that time, man. And, I want to thank you, man. And I'm sorry that this kind of interview is so much to you that I'm so scattered on like what to pick out of this huge basket of what you've done and accomplished. It's like, I see things and I'm like, oh, I want to talk about this, but there's no segue to it, right? There's no way for me to get to that one incident or this one thing that happened. Like I said, the biggest thing I would recommend people to do is to look up Jim, go to YouTube, type his name in, and check out what Jim Dechamp has accomplished throughout his career and his life. I think you'll be amazed. Like, you know, geez, I mean, like I said, there's so many things that you've done, and I want to thank you for getting me connected to a lot of the people that I wouldn't have been able to be connected to in the industry and experience some of the things that I've experienced too, Jim.
All right. Can I get some shout outs real quick?
For sure.
Please.
I would like to thank my girlfriend Hillary for the delicious dino nugget she made for me tonight. Because after my workout, I needed some food.
Where's she at? Tell her to come over. People need to see her.
Yeah.
Thank you. You don't want to? All right. My trainer,
tell her to be your arms. She needs to come over and be your arms while you talk. Remember?
She's shy.
All right.
Who else did you thank? We missed it, Jim.
My dad, my family, my mom, Travis. The list goes on. There's so many people. Donald for doing this. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Anytime, bro. Anytime.
Just real quick though, what's the thing you're most proud of?
Oh, it's kind of hard. Right now, my career working as a crane operator, that is a kind of brave job. I had to quit my other job. I quit my job, got my CDL. I've been going to school, getting my CCOs, all my licenses for running cranes. So I had to go outside my comfort zone and try something new. And so far, it's paying off.
Yeah, it probably has some relationship to running a Bobcat at the age of 7.
Right. No doubt.
No CDL required at the age of. They won't give them to 10-year-olds for whatever.
No. That's cool, man.
We appreciate you coming on.
Proud of you, man.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, see you guys.
All right, brother. Well, have a good one. Thanks for coming up.
Later, buddy.
See you.
See you.